Still on with Hispanic, bring you guys another gameplay commentary. This is Black Desert Online. Yes, I've not uploaded a video in a while. I've been busy. So here's my build video for my Evasion Sorc. And yes, I know well, I've made an Evasion Sorc before. I made an Evasion Sorc years ago. And then I changed it. I went to, I wouldn't say changed it. I've always had a DR Sorc, but I attempted to play with an Evasion Sorc, and back then I just didn't have the gear. And even if I had the gear at that time wasn't up to par. So even if I attempted to play with an Evasion Sorc, I don't think it would have been. I don't think it would have been. I tested it. It was okay. Now with accessories and well, accuracy accessories and things of that nature, this build is pretty solid. So let's get to it. First of all, this build is not necessarily the same as what other evasion players run, right? Most evasion players would have devos here, right? I just don't think that's the case. I am going more for accuracy and evasion, and still having a decent amount of damage. So, let's start with it. Ultimate Zareth. I've tested this. I've used Garmoth.com, and this gives you the most evasion, even if I had the Fallen God helmet, even if I had Libresca here. So it gives more evasion, and this is C20, right? So this is what I decided to go with. Because on console we don't have Libresca, if you wanted to go Griffin, even at C20, it wouldn't give you the same amount of evasion. It would give you more DR and DP, but here we're attempting to max out as much evasion as possible. Then Muskin, of course, this is C20, so not really sure what I want to do here. I do have a Tet Black Star, so I'm thinking, I've been swinging for it. Once I get it, I'll just probably use this. I mean, it's the same thing. Nothing has really changed, right? If you look at Pen Black Star, say Talisman, or if you compare it, just one off in terms of DP, a little bit more evasion. I think it has one more sheet evasion and 3 more hidden evasion. So I'm thinking about that, and then I can sell my Kafirs or just save them. So everything else is C20. And then here, to me, it's not necessarily a new bracket, so I am not. I'm not. I had a chance to go with Tungrads here, but to me, health is more important, right? I'm sitting at 6735, 6,735 health, which I think is solid for me. When it comes to evasion builds, I can easily swap this over, and I'm sitting well at. I think I'm sitting well at. If I look at my stats, I'm sitting well at 948, which is a lot of evasion for a lot of accuracy for me. So yeah, this is, and let's take a look at. So I'm at 1096 evasion, And most of you might look at that and say, well, that's not necessarily high. But here's the thing, right? Chip damage is a thing, right? I don't know if I was in a bubble or I was in this vacuum where I didn't notice this, but chip damage is a thing. And if, well, the build already works 1v1. It is amazing in a 1v1. All of the players that uh, on my glass cannon build that I could kill, I can still kill. The only difference is instead of killing them maybe a third into my overall combo, I kill them at the end of my overall combo. So it's still one combo, a one combo situation. And that's in 1v1s, right? I have more ways to be a bit more flexible. In the past, and I'm a bit rusty because I haven't been in I haven't like PvP I think in like 3 weeks. I've just been was grinding and doing some other things, but I am still able to kill players. I am still able to kill evasion players, right? There's an evasion player that I fight all the time, an evasion mystic, end game mystic, and I was still able to kill this player with this setup here. Now, it wasn't as fast as when I was glass cannon, but it was not slow. So, all in all, I think this build works out. And here's the thing: in open world, in RBF, in Node War, and Siege, I've tested this in open world, and I've tested this in RBF. I've not tested it in Siege, but I've sieged, I've Node Warred, and it is night and day, right? Instead of picking up one kill, I can pick up 2 kills and still stay alive and push on into anyone's back line, right? That's the I wouldn't say amazing thing. I just say it's just a matter of fact. That's what evasion does, right? And chip damage is a thing, right? So DR mitigates a certain amount of damage, right? So you're at 401, 401 DP. That's 30% damage mitigation. So if someone hits you with 100 damage, you mitigate 30 of that, right? And then whatever crystals you're running, I'll talk a bit about the crystals in a sec. That's 30 damage you mitigate. Now think about that, right? You're in open world, you are engaging as a Sorc, and you're taking chip damage, right? You can get in and out of fights, but you're still taking chip damage. So, and the health is not that high, right? If you're running a standard DR build, most won't go with Eye of the Rune rings, right? They'll go with Tungrad, and so they'll get to maybe 27 AP, right? And they're hovering around maybe 5,900 health. That goes away quickly, especially when you're DR, because you're not, if you're evasion, there's a chance those things miss you, right? And especially if it's not skills that have some multiplier attached to it, right? So you are mitigating those damage, the chip damage. So this does wonders. Now the low geared player will not kill you. I don't think that player would have killed you in DR. The medium gear player will not kill you. And even if they can, that means they would have to buff up. They would have to do a whole list of things to kill you. The end game player, depending on that end game player's build, they will also have an issue with killing you, right? What I found is that end game players, once they get to a certain AP, they then start building into other areas, similar to what it is that I'm doing here. All right, so let's look let's take a look at the crystals, right? I've been going between this evasion setup, and then I've tested human damage, but I've realized that this is ultimately what works best. All right, 4 Humes. I'm not really. This is a flex spot here. 4 Humes. I say Humes. 4 Humes. Right. Um, L-cars. Once the new L-car comes out, right, we get an additional, what is it, 16 accuracy, which works well for me as well. Crystal of Frozen Bitterness gives you damage reduction, all evasion, which is perfect. So you get a total of 24 evasion. Gin Vipers. We're going with this tier here. And then, of course, the special evasion, which also gives you health, right? This also gives you health, evasion plus 15. And then if you are, well, I wouldn't say lucky, with the way Garmoth is now, anyone can get one. So I'm also, this is fiery, right? So I do get max HP, max stam, special attack evasion, 10%, that's a total of 20. Yeah, it's 20. Then fiery in here, right, for additional, 2 additional crystal slots, along with Land of the Morning Light, which you get an additional 2, which works out. Exalted Vows, Heart. So this is essentially a setup. It does set up, and I think this works well because Sorks, if you take a look at, so Sork has a 10% evasion passive, right? What am I doing? Okay. So this is 10%, and when you cast Shadow Leap, you get an additional 15%. So you are at 25% almost always. I use Shadow Leap often, right? You have an evasion debuff, which works wonders, right? You have a kill skill, right? And so I think this works well. I would not recommend this build if you are new, if you are mid game, if you're end game, and you can. To be honest, I wouldn't recommend going for Debos here. I think that's more for maybe gauntlets, Mystic and Striker. But I think you have to, because Sorks do suffer from evasion classes. So you definitely want to be able to have enough accuracy to kill them. And I do. I have no issues killing evasion players. Now, if players are stacking DR, I still had issues killing those players on my DR build, right? The Valks, the Zerkers who have really high health, over 10k health. There's maybe 1 or 2 warriors that I fought, and it was very difficult to just get past that. But even on my DR build, right, my glass cannon, human damage, high accuracy, high AP, I still had that issue. So I think overall, I think this is the better build for pretty much all occasions, especially if you have accuracy accessories. If you don't, then you'll be running around with the gimmicky stuff, right, where your offhand is whatever your offhand is, right? Accuracy offhand or evasion offhand, going full human damage, and I'm not into that kind of approach. Some players do that, and they do have success, but that's mainly probably in 1v1s and siege and ball groups, and maybe capped siege and capped node wars, but not in the kind of things that I attempt to do. I like 1v1s, I like small scale, and I think just having to swap out from time to time, that works for me. right? So I have no issues if I'm fighting a class that's not fully evasion. And even at this stage, right? Even even if I am fighting an evasion play, I'm still at 926 accuracy, right? So, um, but you can easily switch over here. So yeah, this is the build. I think it works. Uh, some players, I mean, they're flex spots, right? You can easily go with tongue grads here, uh, or you can go with ominous here, and then maybe instead of this, go with devil. But I don't know why that would be a thing, right? So you would gain 9 AP. You would you would lose 4 AP from here, right? You don't gain the same amount of accuracy, and then you would have. I'm assuming you would have devils here too, but then you would lose the accuracy. But look, that's not something I'm concerned about. I know some other players have different types of setups. I do want to fight some other evasion sorts, and I think this build idea came about from fighting I think 2 evasion sorts, uh, and even though I had the advantage in terms of just I played more effectively, it was just night and day. Uh, Player was able to. I couldn't SA trade even on my end game DR build. I couldn't, even though I pressured, it was very difficult to get the CC. When the player swapped to DR, it was night. Like I said, it wasn't anything. It wasn't necessarily a bad thing. And so I swapped. I tested this, and I thought it was. I think it works well. I have to do a bit more testing, but I've noticed a lot. Like my points are high. I'm more of a hindrance. I mean, I've always been a hindrance in like small scale stuff in RBF, but now in RBF, it's almost next to near impossible to kill me, especially if I play a certain way. So yeah, this build, I think it's effective. I think you know it's quite expensive though, right? It is expensive to get to this build, but if you can, then I think it'll be effective for anyone. And now, if you're not at my gear score and you really want to get into this, the accessories don't really change too much. If you stick to these, I mean, you wouldn't have C20 and everything, right? But no, I don't have C20 in this one, but it's close, right? So what is it? It's C17, right? So you can get to the same uh, same accuracy, not accuracy, same evasion. Maybe you just swap out a crystal, right? Instead of going with glorious, you can probably go with an evasion crystal. Uh, I haven't done so, but maybe I might. Anyway, I'm out.